There is a place within you that the world cannot reach unless you open the door. And most of us, at some point in our journey, have handed over that key. Not always knowing when, not always meaning to, but somewhere between the noise of the world and the need to be understood, we gave someone else the power to stir our stillness. We let their noise become our anger. We let their ignorance become our burden. We carried words that were never meant to grow roots in us. And in doing so, we gave our peace away, piece by piece. But what if, you could keep your peace no matter the storm? What if you could walk through every room, every misunderstanding, every insult thrown like a stone, and still remain grounded like a mountain unmoved by the wind? This is not just a lesson in silence. This is a guide to power, not the kind that yells, not the kind that dominates or demands to be seen, but the kind that knows, the kind that stands firm in its own awareness and says quietly but clearly, I am here and I am not moved. You see people walk into your life carrying things they've never named: shame, resentment, fear, the H of unhealed wounds that have followed them for decades. And instead of tending to those wounds, instead of facing the mirror they project, they toss what's too heavy for them onto whoever will hold it. And often that person is you. Not because you deserve it, not because you did anything wrong, but because you were there, because you were open, because you were strong enough to listen, to care, to feel. People only throw at you what they cannot carry themselves. Their bitterness, their envy, their fear, all shaped like words, like tones, just like silence that cuts deeper than sound. When someone speaks to you with unnecessary sharpness, when their words are more blade than bridge, pause. Before you absorb it, before you take it in as truth, ask yourself gently, is this truly about me? Or is this a reflection of something they haven't yet resolved inside themselves? It is easier to point a finger than to look in a mirror, easier to offload pain than to process it. So they project through tone, through silence, through sarcasm. It's the language of someone drowning in their own inner storm. And without awareness, you become the container they try to pour themselves into. But you must learn not everything meant for you is meant to be absorbed. Not every emotion that enters your space belongs in your spirit. Their anger is likely not about you. Their judgment rooted in their own insecurity. Their rejection, often a mirror of their own self-worth. And yet, if you are not careful, you will take it personally. You'll twist yourself trying to earn peace from those who haven't yet found it within. You'll shrink your light, lower your voice, soften your boundaries, all in the name of keeping their comfort intact. But remember, the stones they throw were never meant for you. They're simply carrying too much. And the heavier it gets, the harder they throw. Not because they hate you. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes they see in you the peace they've never known, the confidence they buried, the self-love they were told they didn't deserve. And that sight unsettles them, because you make it look effortless. You walk with grace. You move without apology. You live with quiet strength. So they test it. They say things that scratch at your calm. They prod. They provoke, waiting for you to break the way they would. Because if they can pull you into their storm, then their chaos feels justified. If even you, with all your composure, can be shaken, then they are not so broken after all. Don't fall for it. Their load is not yours to lift. You didn't cause it. You can't cure it. And carrying it won't save them. It will only bury you. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you harden your heart. It means you redefine compassion. You stop confusing compassion with self-sacrifice. It means you learn to say, I see your pain, but I will not become it. You allow people to sit in the discomfort of their own reflection without rushing to dim your truth just to make it easier for them. You will meet people who lash out instead of look within, who shame instead of share, who tear down instead of talk. It is not your job to catch every blow or defend your worth every time someone else forgets theirs. You are not a dumping ground for unhealed emotions. Let them throw, let them spill, let them speak from places that don't even belong to this moment. But you, stay grounded, don't rise to meet the storm. Stay seated in your stillness, because the moment you react, the moment you make their wound about you, you hand over your power. You tell their chaos that it can control your peace. Choose better, not for them, for you. Not everything thrown at you is meant to be caught. Sometimes the highest act of grace is to let it fall, to say nothing, to walk forward, to refuse to carry what was never yours. That's not coldness. That's clarity, and clarity will serve you far better than reaction ever will. Because people will always throw, but your peace, your sacred, steady peace, is not their playground. Your soul is not their storage space. Protect it, guard it, honor it as the sacred thing it is. Remember, just what they throw says more about what's breaking inside them than it ever will about you. They'll come knocking with raised voices and sharpened words, wrapped in urgency and ego. They'll send invitations to chaos disguised as conversations, and some will even swear it's love. But listen closely. You are not required to attend every argument you're invited to. You are not required to enter every room that reeks of control. You are not obligated to lace up your gloves every time someone else wants a fight. There is power in silence, not the kind that hides, but the kind that holds. Just the kind that says, I will not let your storm become my home. There will be moments, small ones, quiet ones, just that appear ordinary until suddenly they are not. A word, a tone, a look, and something within you tightens. Your chest constricts, your pulse quickens. Just your thoughts begin to race. The body remembers every battle it's ever fought, and before you even know it, you are standing at the edge of reaction. That right there, that single heartbeat between peace and reaction is the most sacred space you will ever know. Because in that breath, you are given a choice to be pulled by emotion or to return to yourself. We are not taught to pause. We are taught to fire back, to defend, to explain, to prove that we are right, that we are strong, that we are not the ones to be underestimated. But what if true protection doesn't always look like reaction? What if true power is knowing how to hold yourself steady in the face of provocation? Because the world will hand you tests daily, moments designed to see if you can remain calm in chaos, if you can still choose peace when everything around you is begging you to shatter. That breath, just that sacred pause, is your anchor in a world that keeps trying to pull you out of yourself. It's the whisper of wisdom that speaks even when emotion screams. It's the soft reminder that you are not the chaos around you, you are the calm within it. The breath gives you back your power before you give it away. It teaches you that you are not just a reflex, you are a response. And that difference changes everything. A reflex is automatic, it's the survival voice of the ego. But a response, that comes from the soul. It's deliberate, mindful, born from a place of awareness rather than fear. The breath is what transforms one into the other. It's where your spirit reminds your mind that not every battle requires a sword. So breathe. Breathe before you reply to that message. Breathe before you raise your voice. Breathe before you mirror the pain that was handed to you. Because sometimes what you are about to say isn't your truth, it's your wound. Sometimes the sharpness in your tone is not today's emotion, but yesterday's scar being pressed again. Sometimes the fire in your chest isn't anger at all, it's grief dressed as defense. But the breath knows, it knows the difference between danger and discomfort. And when you learn that difference, you begin to master your reactions. Religious, you have been taught to react because that's what the world models. But you can unlearn that. You can reteach your body that not every emotional spike is a call to war. You can rewire your mind to understand that not every insult needs to be answered. You can teach your soul to stay rooted even when everything around you shakes. That is not weakness. That is mastery. To know when to speak and when to hold, when to defend and when to release. When the cost of reaction is too high for the peace you've worked so hard to protect. Because peace isn't something the world gives you. It's something you choose again and again and again. Especially when it's hardest to. So breathe before you break. Breathe before you let the heat rise. Because you are not here to be shattered by the chaos of others. You are here to move through it with grace. And yes, there will be times you forget. Times when the storm inside you wins. You will yell, you will react. You will wish you had paused, but that's okay. That's part of learning. Even then, even in your reaction, you are growing aware of yourself. Every breath is a new beginning. Every pause is practice. Every moment is another chance to choose differently. So when you feel it rising, the anger, the sadness, the hurt, don't run from it. Don't deny it. Meet it. Greet it. Acknowledge its presence without letting it rule you. Because emotions are not enemies, they are messengers. And when you listen, you no longer need to obey them. Breathe into it. Hold yourself the way no one else ever did, strong, soft, aware. Because when you can breathe through the moment that once broke you, you become unshakable. It's not because you no longer feel, but because you finally know how to feel without falling apart. There is a quiet kind of wisdom that lives in restraint. It is not loud. It does not demand to be seen. It does not stump or scream or storm out. It simply knows. It knows that not every comment needs to be answered. Not every look needs to be read. Not every tone needs to be mirrored. Peace is not passive. It is not silence out of fear. It is silence born from power. It's the decision to protect your energy as the sacred thing it is, because the world will throw bait at you daily. Words meant to provoke. Questions meant to corner, moments designed to unhinge you. If you are not watchful, you will spend your life reacting to shadows, trying to prove your worth to those who have already decided not to see it, trading your stillness for fleeting victories that leave you hollow. There's a difference between hearing something and having to respond to it. You may hear gossip, you may hear criticism, you may hear lies. But not everything that enters your ears needs to exit your mouth. Not every sound deserves your echo. Not every energy deserves your attention. Some people speak from pain, not truth. Some confront not to understand, but to control. And if you react to every provocation, you hand them the keys to your peace willingly. You say, here, take it. Take my calm. Take my self-respect. Take my clarity, because you had the courage to challenge me. But why? Why give so much for so little? What if silence was not surrender, but sovereignty? What if your decision not to respond was not weakness, but wisdom? There is power in holding your peace when the world expects you to shatter. There is power in walking away without needing to explain. There is power in saying nothing, not because you don't care, but because you finally do, just for yourself. They may call you cold. They may say you've changed. But those who confuse peace with passivity have never fought the inner war it takes to maintain it. They don't see the 1,000 battles you've already faced just to arrive at calm. They don't know the strength it takes to stay silent when you could destroy with words. They don't know the restraint it takes to breathe instead of break. Reaction is easy, reaction is instinct. But restraint, that is mastery, that is evolution. That is knowing who you are so deeply that no one else's chaos can make you forget it. Not everyone deserves your correction. Not everyone has earned your explanation. Not everyone who misunderstands you deserves your energy. Sometimes the most radical act of self-care is choosing not to let that comment steal your calm, not to let that driver steal your joy, not to let that tone drag you into turmoil. You can hear it all and still stay still. You can witness the chaos and remain untouched. Because your peace, your beautiful, quiet, sacred peace is not theirs to take, it is yours to guard. So hold it close, protect it like breath itself. And remember, the one who can stay still in the storm has already mastered the weather within. The sting of insult is sharp. It lands fast like lightning, often when you least expect it. A word, a look, a tone, meant to cut, to provoke, to unsettle. And the human reflex is to strike back, to protect the wound, to reclaim dignity by matching the force. But here's the truth most never learn. Most insults don't need your defense. They need your compassion, not for their sake, for yours. Because what a person says to you often says far more about what's hurting inside them than what's broken inside of you. Insults are born from lack of peace, lack of clarity, lack of self-respect. A heart full of harmony doesn't need to harm, a soul rooted in self-worth doesn't reach for destruction. When someone lashes out, they're not revealing their strengths, they're revealing their suffering. And if you can see it that way, really see it, the words lose their bite. You start hearing pain instead of poison. And that changes everything. Compassion doesn't excuse disrespect, it transcends it. It rises above the need to match it. It chooses clarity over combat, grace over gratification, because what's the use of winning an argument if you lose your peace in the process? When someone calls you a name, questions your worth, or mocks your choices, pause. Look at them not with judgment, but with curiosity. Ask yourself, what must they be carrying? What kind of day, what kind of life leads someone to throw darkness at another soul? Compassion is not softness, it's not weakness. It's strength in its highest form. It takes far more courage to stay centered in grace than to react in rage. It takes discipline to respond with empathy instead of ego. Because people insult for reasons that rarely have anything to do with you. To distract from their flaws, to feel powerful, to be seen, to mask pain with pride. But when you see through the illusion, you stop being their mirror. You stop absorbing their projection. You become the quiet observer of someone still at war with themselves. Let them throw their words. Let them echo in empty air. You do not have to be their audience. You do not have to carry their chaos home. That's what compassion gives you, immunity, not to pain, but to reaction. It gives you the ability to look a person in the eye and say, without words, I see your suffering, but I will not add to it. You can set a boundary without building a wall. You can walk away without storming off. You can be firm without being cruel. That is compassion in motion. It's the ability to stay kind without being controlled, to stay soft without being small. When you respond with compassion, you take the oxygen out of their fire. You refuse to fuel the chaos. And slowly something shifts. You stop needing to be right. Religious, you stop needing to be understood. You stop needing to win. Because you begin to realize that your value has never lived in anyone else's mouth. Dignity doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply breathes. Sometimes it says nothing. Sometimes it smiles and walks away. And yes, you will be misunderstood. You will be called weak. You will be told you let them get away with it. But that's only because they don't understand the kind of strength it takes to remain whole in a world that profits from reaction. You are not here to manage their perception. You are here to protect your peace. Just because when you no longer let another person's unkindness dictate your character, you finally understand freedom. You begin to see people not as enemies, but as souls in pain, flawed, wounded, searching for control in a world that often feels like chaos. That doesn't mean you tolerate abuse. It doesn't mean you excuse cruelty. It means you see clearly. You can say, I will not fight you because I see you're already fighting yourself. That kind of compassion doesn't make you smaller. It makes you vast. It expands your heart without draining it. And maybe, just maybe, your compassion will be the mirror they've never had. Maybe it won't change them, but it will change you, because compassion heals the one who offers it. Then comes the next step, the final layer of peace, detachment. There comes a time in life when you get tired, not from doing too much, but from carrying too much that isn't yours. You get tired of explaining yourself to those determined not to understand, tired of bending for people who only know how to break you, tired of running toward fires you didn't start. And in that exhaustion, something sacred begins to rise, a quiet longing to let go, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity, not out of apathy, but out of wisdom. Peaceful detachment is not giving up, it's setting yourself free. It's the moment you unclench the rope that's been cutting your hand. It's the stillness that comes when you no longer need to fix what isn't yours to fix. Detachment isn't cold. It's one of the warmest forms of self-love. It says, I no longer need to lose myself to keep you. When you detach, you're not abandoning people. You're abandoning the need to be tangled in their storms. You're stepping off the battlefield not because you've lost, but because you finally understand the war was never yours. You are reclaiming your time, your energy, your emotional oxygen. Because not every fire deserves your fuel. Not every situation needs your presence. We were taught that caring means clinging. That love means holding on no matter how much it hurts. But real love knows when to release. Real love can bless someone on their journey without following them into their chaos. That is detachment.